This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future hand in hand. No more waiting, no more fear. The truth is loud, the choice is clear. A nation proud, a people free. Scotland's fate is up to we. From the mountains to the shore, we dream of something more. A land of promise, hope and fire. A future that will lift us higher. This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future hand in hand. For every voice that's yet to speak, for every heart that still feels weak, we march, we sing, we'll break the chain, we'll never bow, we'll rise again. This is our land, this is our time. No chains can hold a heart so wild. We rise, we fight, we take our stand for Scotland's future hand in hand.
Good evening, Scotland. Good evening, social media land. I hope you are well. It is Friday, the 18th of April? Yeah, April 2025. Welcome to Saorsa Live. We are only still on YouTube land, unfortunately, but I do have an update for the TikTok land thing. I have been arguing profusely with TikTok, basically saying, they were saying, yeah, you've not reached eligibility to go on Streamlabs onto TikTok. And I'm like, mate, I've been doing it since October last year. What's your problem? 4 times I had to say the same thing over and over again. And it was very frustrating. Anyway, I've now reported it again to Streamlabs themselves, and they're going to take control of the situation. Listen, before we get started tonight, something very serious happened this week, and I want to say something, and this is very, very important. I've discussed it with a couple of colleagues in Saorsa, and it's kind of bound to the Saorsa ethos, one of the things that we founded ourselves on a few years ago, about 2-3 years ago now. So I want to say that myself and Saorsa are 100% behind our trans and non-binary friends and their community, their families, and any allies as well, basically because one of the founding ethos for Saorsa was to create an independent Scotland where everyone counts with no exceptions. Equality is for everyone. We're not free until all of us are free. And what the Supreme Court judgment has done has not made the UK a safer place for cishet women. It's no victory, in fact, they've set back what little security and safety they had by years. The British Transport Police is adopting an interim policy while it digests the Supreme Court's ruling that the definition of a woman under equality laws refers to biological women, and trans women in British Transport Police custody will now be strip searched by male officers, not female. And that is all to do with them making up their minds about how to deal with it. They were super quick to jump on, let's strip women down if they're in our custody. I think that's awful. So what does this actually mean? Okay, it means that if you're slightly masculine looking like maybe you're a biological female, but you may have like a little bit of masculine features. If you're a little taller, or you have a slightly deeper voice, or you might have a hormone imbalance, like say polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, that could cause you to have slight facial hair. You may have to prove that you're not a trans woman. So you best carry your birth certificate around with you, especially on trains, just in case. What? Carrying your birth certificate around in the UK for ID? It's a bit fascist. It is a bit fascist, really, isn't it? That's a bit awful. Anyway, and for all you fathers of daughters, and I'm a father of daughters, one daughter, okay? So for all you fathers of daughters that did not want trans women in women's safe spaces, the same safe spaces that trans women have been using for years, the same safe spaces that statistically your daughters have more chances of being assaulted by cis-het men who are not dressed up as women, you will now have trans men entering these spaces now. Trans men that look like beautiful, bearded, hefty, masculine men that are being forced to use these spaces because at birth they were biologically female. This whole thing feels very Section 28-ish. And if you do remember, I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember Section 28 of the Local Government Act 1988, which was a UK law that prohibited local authorities from promoting homosexuality, preventing discussion and inclusion, and questioning of homophobia. It was repealed in 2003, thank God, but its impact still has massive effects on the LGBTQ plus people. I think this whole thing is completely screwed up. It really is. So just watch our usual jingle, please. We start our lives with an important reminder that we are fighting one of the world's greatest propaganda machines, the British state and their right-wing oligarch-run media. To combat this, we ask that you always follow, like and share, and comment positively across all social media platforms on any of your favourite Scottish independence creators and commentators. By doing this, you help to spread the word of our cause and manipulate social media algorithms to benefit our struggle. So please, for now, like and share this live stream, and if you haven't already, follow this account. Thank you. Cool. Sorry, a bit ranty there to start off with. I've got a couple of trans friends, a couple of non-binary friends, and a friend of mine who has a trans girlfriend, and they've all been very upset this week. So I want to support them 110%. I think that it's awful. Now listen, before anybody thinks, well, what do you think of women's rights? I was raised by a single woman. My baptism by fire into the world of activism was through my mum. Okay, so I'm very, very pro women's rights, 110%. In fact, the easiest way to do this is I'm pro everybody's rights, human rights and beyond. I think that we should just all live the best lives we can without persecuting anybody, without being horrible. And that's why Saorsa was, we want to build an independent Scotland where everyone counts, because everyone should count at the end of the day. Do you know something? People within our movement that are a little bit maybe anti-trans, transphobic, I get why some people feel the way that they do, but trans folk in Scotland are still Scottish, and a lot of them still want independence. We should be working with them to protect them, and to protect women, and to protect men, protect kids, protect animals, protect everybody. Anyway, let's see who's in the house tonight. There is Martin. I've not seen you for ages. It's really nice to see you there, Martin. Lisa's there, Zen Bloke's there, Eddie's there, John's there, Hashbury Stumbles there, Lewis is there. I missed Barry. I saw Barry. I didn't have any problems technically yet, Barry. You'll be glad to know. Gingers is there. Wolfpet. Did I say Wolfpet? I don't know. We've got a lot of cool people in. I like it when you all come in. I can't get this stupid thing. There's the technical problem. There you are. I can see it now. Scottish Steve as well. Neil Cannon. Yes, indeed. Alistair at the top there as well. Listen, thank you everybody. If I've missed anybody, or you want to just speak in the side chat, you can do. You need to hit the subscribe button, wait 5 minutes, and then you can join in the conversation. Okay, tonight we're going to be talking about two things, and then we're going to pull some of the Saorsa team in to talk about the things as well. And I've been promised that Kieran will not filibuster and take like 15 minutes to make his point tonight. Don't believe it. Okay, so we're going to talk about how Anas Sarwar, first of all, is trying to rewrite history with his attitude towards this trans thing. Then we're going to talk about that amazing sort of polling data that came in over two separate polls that kind of proves the whole point that SNP1 and 2 is a flawed strategy. But we're going to start straight up with the Anas Sarwar thing. So he wants you to believe, Anas Sarwar wants you to believe he's always stood up for women's right, for biological sex protections, for single sex spaces. That's what he said right after the Supreme Court ruling on the Gender Recognition Reform Bill. Was it the Supreme? No, that wasn't the Supreme Court ruling. That was the Scottish office. Was it? I can't remember. Anyway, he's misleading everybody. It's a lie, and it's a lie that betrays Scotland's LGBTQ plus community. In December 2022, Anas Sarwar didn't just support the bill, he whipped Scottish Labour MSPs to vote for it. The bill was designed to simplify the process for trans people to be legally recognised in their gender, and it was backed by human rights organisations, trans groups and other women's groups alike. At the time, Anas Sarwar said nothing about biological sex or about protecting single-sex spaces from the bill. Nothing. Not one word. Now, a couple of years later, he's claiming that he's always been on the side of biological definitions. I don't think that that's leadership. It's more political opportunism, taking advantage of a situation to make himself look better. In February this year, Sarwar said he regretted supporting the bill, claimed Scottish Labour wouldn't back it if it came up again. So which is it, Anas? Do you regret supporting it, or were you always against it? Because you can't have it both ways, can you? You led your party to support a human rights bill, and now that Westminster and the right-wing press are shifting the narrative, that same human rights for trans people, you're pretending you were never part of it. That's not regret. That is rewriting the narrative, the history of what you said. This isn't about political games. It's about trust. And you've broken it with some of the most vulnerable people in Scotland. Scottish Labour marched in pride parades. They posted hashtags. They promised to stand with the trans community. And now, when it's politically convenient, they're turning their backs on them. You don't get to wear a rainbow one day and pander to prejudice the next. This isn't about clarity, it's about cowardice. Cowardice in the face of media pressure, cowardice in the face of right-wing talking points, and the people who suffer are the same ones Labour claimed to stand beside. Trans people, vulnerable people, real people. Anas Sarwar, you do not get to rewrite your record and call yourself an ally. You do not get to whip your MPs to vote for trans rights and then claim you were always defending something else. You do not get to sell out our rights to win points with Keir Starmer or the Daily Mail. Because we remember what you did. We remember how you voted and how we remember who you stood with and who you've thrown under the bus the moment it got tough. So no, Scottish Labour is not an ally to the LGBTQ plus community. You can't march with them anymore in June in Pride. You can't, because you'll be a hypocrite. Okay, you cannot rewrite history, and you sure as hell cannot rewrite their rights. They are human beings. They are people, and they deserve the protections, just like everybody else in Scotland. We see through you, Anna Sarwar, we see through Labour, we see through the opportunism that you've had. You've done it to the pensioners, you've done it to the waspy women, and now you're doing it to the trans people. You make me sick. You really, really do. Let's play a song.
You're tearing down the walls we built, brick by brick they fall. Your words become the chains that bind, dividing us all. Can't you see your actions serve the very ones we fight? By fueling fires of discord, you extinguish our light. I refuse to let my children bear a fractured, broken dream, while the British state deceives us, pulling apart our seam. I won't engage in petty spats that mock our quest for right. Our unity's the weapon that will lead us to the fight. Your venom poisons progress, turns our lives into foes. Each insult digs a deeper trench where understanding goes. You're dancing to their melody, a puppet on their strings, while they erode our culture and steal our precious things. I refuse to let my children bear a fractured, broken dream, while the British state deceives us, pulling apart our seam. I won't engage in petty spats that mock our quest for right. Our unity's the weapon that will lead us to the fight. Look beyond your grievances, see the larger scope. Our strength lies in our numbers, in solidarity and hope. Set aside your differences, let go of selfish pride. Together we'll achieve the dream for which our martyrs died. I refuse to let my children bear a fractured, broken dream, while the British state deceives us, pulling apart our seam. I won't engage in petty spats that mock our quest for right. Our unity's the weapon that will lead us to the fight. No more we be pawns in their manipulative game. We'll stand as one, undivided in purpose and in name. The future of our nation rests upon our unified stand. Together we'll reclaim our rights, together we'll demand. I refuse to let my children bear a fractured, broken dream, while the British state deceives us, pulling apart our seam. I won't engage in petty spats that mock our quest for right. Our unity's the weapon that will lead us to the fight.
Okay. Oh my god, the camera came off really quickly. I was busy reading something. It was like, oh, I'm live again. Oh no. Hold on. Just make sure the mic is on. Thank God for that. Yes, who was asking there? Eddie, you can download the tracks. You need to go to the link that Barry's put up there, and there should be a little download button for the track that you're listening to. And I'll tell you right now, all Saorsa's music, freedom music is what they're called in Gaelic. That's what it means. You can use for anything, okay? I am happy for you to use them in your own streams, your own videos, anything at all. If you want to play them loud and proud and annoy the neighbours, please do. If you want to drive past the Scottish offices for the Colonial Masters and play it through a megaphone, do it. Play them at the marches. Play them in your headphones. Play them going to work on the bus if you like them. They're there for you to use with no cost at all. That's what they were made for. They were made for activists. Okay, good. Yes, let me just quickly say, two-faced isn't bad enough for him. He's got 3 or 4 with his spouting lies. You're absolutely right, Martin. And yeah, two faces. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the GRR8 passed by the Scottish Parliament, therefore supported by the majority? Yeah, it was supported by unilaterally across it. And the Tories, somebody said in the chat as well that the Tories voted for it too. And it's totally true. But unfortunately, the very first time Section 35 was used to take it away, they didn't think that it was an appropriate law for Scotland to pass. Our parent country thought we're not grown up enough to make decisions about trans people's lives. Wankers. Every one of them. I don't care about swearing before midnight tonight. I'm swearing. I was quite angry about that, to say the least. Yes, I will be playing them through my megaphone, Wolfie, on March the 3rd, especially Scotland is Ready, which we'll be playing later on as well. In fact, that'll be the next song. I play that every week because it's my personal favourite. Okay, so where were we? We're going to talk about now, okay, is the 3 pieces of polling data that I've talked about in the videos this week. We're going to go through it very slowly. Then I'm going to bring on a few people from Saorsa themselves, and we're going to be talking about them, get their opinions of it as well. So the data that we've got proves how we win. 3 separate pieces of polling data, and they're all saying the same thing. The people of Scotland are moving, and this time we're not drifting, we're not turning, we're not aimlessly wandering around thinking, what if? We're now, with purpose, with clarity, we are moving away from Westminster and towards a unified Scotland for independence. We're going to talk about these numbers because they don't lie, and they don't really care who you vote for either, and that is what this is about. So the first bit of polling came from the Diffley Partnership, which is I believe that they're based in Edinburgh, and they put the SNP on 40% of the constituency vote, and Labour's vote collapsing to 15. Now listen, there's some people that are politically motivated within our independence movement. I am not. I am a member of the SNP, okay, but I'm not politically motivated when it comes to independence. I will not stand there and argue with an ALPA comrade or an ISP comrade or a Green comrade in this struggle. As long as we are all going to be pushing forward for independence, I don't mind who you vote for, but I would always recommend SNP, even if you don't like them, hold your nose and vote for them in the constituencies, and then any other independence party on the list. Okay, now the thing with the Diffley Partnership, okay, based on that alone, the SNP are on track to win between 58 seats and 62 constituency seats. And it's not just strongholds like easy wins for us, but places like Dumbarton, Eastwood, Galloway, West Dumfries, Dumfriesshire, West Aberdeenshire, and even Shetland are on that hit list within there when they did the polling. And it's not wishful thinking. It's a clear and credible path to a constituency majority. That's something that we should be fighting for the SNP. If we just got it together and we started to consider something very simple, that we could deliver an SNP majority through the constituencies. What have people got to vote for in Scotland? Okay, voting for the Tories, who lied to us for the past 14 years. Labour, who has done more lies and more U-turns and more nonsense to us in less than a year than the Tories probably did for those 14. And Reform, is anybody going to be mad enough to vote for Reform? I don't think so. So we need to sell the merits of a pro-Scottish Parliament and take the utter piss out of the unionist parties and show what they've done, remind people of the negative aspects of it. Anyway, the next piece of polling data came from the Find Out Now poll, which showed 56% of Scots would vote yes if you take away the undecideds. 56% of Scots. That is 11 points more than the 44% that would say no. That's incredible. Now, I personally think it's more than that, but I'm not a polling expert, right? But to think that we are now sitting there at 56%, it's becoming kind of normalised that yes is there, that the people of Scotland want independence. That is called, back in like after 2014, they talked about the settled will of the Scottish people. That's usually a lot higher, you know, an awful lot higher, but it's going that way. It's kind of levelling off there, but it's going more. It's heading in the right direction all the time. Now, what makes it even more interesting is the minimum of 67% of voters aged 16 to 29 support independence. I'm actually seeing in some evidence that it's 72%. That is a massive generational shift. My son, my daughter, they all want independence. They don't trust London at all. And no wonder, after everything that they've done. How can a whole other country that is not in tune with us up here, that doesn't really appreciate Scotland's unique values, make the right decisions for us? I mean, God damn it. Unilaterally, we voted for the GRR, okay, and then they say, no, you can't have it. Madness. You've also got to remember as well that it's the kids, when I say the kids, my son's 18, that will be most affected by Brexit, housing prices, the ability to move on in life. And that's all to do with decisions made down in Westminster with regards to the economy, budgets, etc. You know, the third part of the data also came from the Find Out Now poll, and this was the one that was analysed by Professor John Curtis, the one that projects 79 pro-independence MSPs. This is what excited me the most. Okay, 57 for the SNP. I still think we could campaign harder and get them over 65. Okay, 15 for the Greens and 7 for Alapa. Go figure. Alapa have had a breakthrough in the polls. 7. There was somebody that was saying in a show that I watched that it was on YouTube, I can't remember where it was, but they said that it'd be better to vote for SNP1 and the Greens because the Greens and the SNP are the only true parties that have ever delivered any MSPs with a track record of getting them into the Scottish Parliament. I say vote for any pro-indie party. I would say I'm voting for Alapa, but if you want to vote Green, vote Green. It doesn't really matter. I've put the numbers of previous elections through my spreadsheet, and if it was 50-50 for the amount of votes, let's say you took 50% of the SNP's votes and gave half of that 50% to Alapa and half of that 50% to the Greens, they would still get 1 or 2 seats each in each region, just the way that it works. Okay. However, consider this just now. That 79 seat majority is 29 seats above the line, above the Unionists, what they would have as a bloc together. Just think about that for a minute, okay? 29 more seats than the Unionists. That is ridiculously cool. It's what is even more cooler. It's 10 more pro-Scottish MSPs than the SNP's famous 2011 majority, the one that was used to trigger our first referendum. I can feel the vibe coming from certain people, not in the chat, but out there in social media saying, yeah, but it needs to be the one party. It needs to be the SNP. That's why we're voting SNP1 and 2. Shut up. Okay? It's not about political hegemony. It's purely about the national cause. And if you cannot see that, you shouldn't be campaigning for independence. Just go and campaign for the SNP. That's cool. That's fine. I'll be doing the same for the constituency. But I will be using my voice to promote any other INDY2. And this data shows that that strategy works. It's the first breakthrough where a poll has been done nationally, and it absolutely, without any uncertain terms, shows that any other INDY2 will deliver a massive majority. 79. Do you know, 79, that is only 7 seats off 2/3 of the entire Parliament. And the things that we can do with 2/3 of the Parliament is incredible. And we're going to talk about that next week on the videos that I'm putting out. So SNP1 and any other INDY2 works. It works mathematically, it works strategically, it delivers more pro-independence MSPs than both votes SNP ever could under the current system. And that is because of the way the additional member system works. Everybody here probably knows what I've talked about in the past with regards to the AMS. Keeping it simple, okay, let's use the south of Scotland, because the south of Scotland is the only region that is not pro-yes. Every other region is, but we'll use them from 2011. They got about 136,000 list votes in the south of Scotland, okay, the SNP did, okay, but they only got one seat from that, and that was one list seat, that's great if you're talking political hegemony. However, if those 136,000 list votes had gone to a list-only political party, they'd have got 3 or even maybe 4 seats. And that's so much better. Now, the reason for that is the 136,000 votes were divided by, I think the SNP got 6 seats down there. So it was divided by 6 plus 1, so divided by 7. So they only ended up with whatever 136,000 divided by 7 is. In Glasgow, it was 113,000 divided by 10 because they won all 9 seats plus 1. So 10 into 113,000 is basically around about 13,000. That's how it works. It is not on percentages. Do not let anybody tell you otherwise. In the description of this live stream right at the top, there are 2 links. One which will take you to a download document from the Holyrood website that explains all this, and the other is a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation used by schools from the Parliament website again to explain all this. Use them, share them. Tell your neighbours, tell your friends, explain it in friendly terms. Send them to this data to say, look, it works. We have been proven right. I'm honest to God, I've had a roller coaster of emotions this week. Utter elation that we have this now to say, hey, look, we're right. We are so right about this. Okay, without saying, I told you so, but we are right. All we want is a better Scotland. We want more pro-Scottish MSPs there. That was the high. The low and the anger was the Supreme Court ruling. So I'm up and down all the time just now. That's why I'm a bit erratic. I've also had 3 cups of coffee. But there you go. What else was there about this? And there was something else I was going to say. Yeah. We need to take over Holyrood as a whole. We need to make Holyrood a Scottish Parliament, not a Parliament with voices in it that are taking their instructions from London. And the only way to do that is SNP1 and any other INDY2. Keeping it simple, that would mean Alapa or the Greens with your second vote. ISP maybe. I don't think they've ever put any candidates out yet, but if they're there, you can vote for them. But you would be better Greens or Alapa, because they're established, they have a big connection, they have a big following. And Kenny, the new leader of Alapa, seems to be very positive about not going to war with the SNP. And they've said at their conference as well that they are not fielding any constituency candidates in 2026. That speaks volumes for people that understand the system. It's really important. It really, really is. We need to take a grown-up and mature sort of attitude towards this, even when our brothers and sisters are not. We need to rise above the fog and the red fire of anger about this from our brothers and sisters, because we're here to deliver a good majority in the Scottish Parliament. We need to show the world that that's the case, and the goal is 86. That is the line that we need to cross. And it will only come, if we work together. And it's just going to be totally impossible for some people anyway. Anyway, I'm not going to ramble on anymore. I've just scrolled past all my notes because I've basically ad-libbed the rest of it. We're going to play a wee song just now. This is Scotland is Ready, and then we'll bring on the team.
They draw the lines, they call the shots. Take what's ours and leave us not. But we see through their tired game. Scotland's rising won't be tamed. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence. No more waiting, no more chains. We'll stand together, break the reins. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence, for independence. They say we're small, they say we're weak, but listen close. When Scotland speaks, our wealth is strong, our hearts are true. We know exactly what to do. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence. No more waiting, no more chains. We'll stand together, break the reins. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence, for independence. No more lies, no more lies, no more fear, no more fear. Our time is now, our day is here. The future's ours. Let's take the call. We rise as one. We rise for all. We build the wind, we sail the seas, we feed the world, we plant the trees. Scotland's future, bold and bright. Time to stand and claim our right. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence, for independence. They say we're small, they say we're weak, but listen close. When Scotland speaks, our wealth is strong, our hearts are true. We know exactly what to do. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence. No more waiting, no more chains. We'll stand together, break the reins. Scotland is ready. Scotland is ready for independence, for independence. Independence, for independence.
Okay, dokie, let's see if I can get these guys up here just now. 1 second. Where are we? We need to... I'm not pushing all cams until I get them in. Hold on. There's Henry. Cool. There's Dave. Cool. Kieran, where are you? You won't see them just now. Hold on a second. Can you boys hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Excellent. Henry, can you please come out of the Discord as well, please, because you'll echo otherwise. That would be cool. And there's Kieran. Fabulous. The gang is all here. Let's go. Ta-da! I'm going to put the headphones on for this so I can hear you properly. How are you all?
Fine.
Oh, that was loud. Kieran, how are you?
Very well, how are you?
I'm good. And Henry, it's good to have you on the show tonight. How are you, sir? Are you switched off with your microphone? You need to be on. How am I going to speak to you? Let me just... Barry, can I ask a wee favour?
You can't because you get feedback probably because I haven't switched my Discord off yet.
No, I'm not getting feedback. Your mic might be switched off, which is good. I can actually mute you as well. That's okay. I think somebody's taken you out. Barry might have taken you out there. Thank you, Barry. Excellent. Right then. So we've got a lot to talk about tonight, gentlemen. And let me just get my notes up for this just now. And I believe when we were talking earlier on, Kieran was typing and scaring me with his notes, typing away. All I heard was over and over and over again. And that frightens me lots because, well, it means he's got a lot to say. He's a young man. He's got a lot to say anyway. Right, so we're going to talk straight away about the trans thing, okay? I want to know how you guys feel about Anna Sarwar's reversal, about how he felt about the gender recognition reform bill. Do you think he's holding sort of like a... How do you feel about his political integrity? Is it bad politics? What is it? How do you feel about this? We'll start with Kieran. Because, do you know why I'm starting with you? It's because you've got a lot to say and I've got a coffee to drink, so I'm just going to sit back and relax. Say you.
Well, I suppose let's speak quite clear on what he has done. He's the leader of Labour, but leadership isn't about reading polls. It is about leading the polls. And when he's whipping his party to vote and support a bill that he's now speaking out against, he's not doing that by accident. He didn't tell Labour MSPs to vote for the GRR on accident. He did it because it was right. And it's now to see him rewrite everything he stood for then, that's not evolution in politics. That is erasure of politics. And this isn't just about one bill.
It's a political opportunism. That's what it is. He's taken an opportunity to try and sort of like grandstand a wee bit. Hey, look at me. I was always behind this. I was just pretending before, not like Labour to pretend. What do you feel about it, Dave?
Well, to start off with, I think it completely sucks, the ruling. And I'm being polite as we're on air, because I can think of stronger ways of putting it than that.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, all it's done is push back human rights back 21 years since the original Gender Recognition Act came out.
Yeah.
It's just pushed it back to that. And I'm sorry, but my personal feeling is that it's just going to open up people to spread hate.
Agreed. Henry, do you think it's possible to trust a politician who changes his position so drastically about such things as like LGBTQ plus sort of things, or even if we can go as far as pensioners with their the WASPy women, and then also the heating allowance as well? What do you feel about politicians that change their minds on things like that?
Well, personally, I think that he's basically, first of all, it's point scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, he's more or less being directed from Westminster. He's not being directed by the people of Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
As far as anything else, I haven't really looked into it, but all I can say is it's definitely point scoring.
Point scoring, opportunism, absolutely. It's the whole thing. Is they're playing with people's lives. I'm going to quickly go back to Kieran because I interrupted him when he was speaking. He's probably got a lot more to say about this. But I'm going to just throw something at you while we're here, which is like, do you think that political parties could be deemed as a bit more dangerous if they're starting to weaponise such things as gender identity, politics type stuff, just for point scoring? I mean, Kieran?
Yeah, I feel like we are beginning to see the beginning of political parties start to weaponise whatever. We've seen reform weaponise immigration and immigrants and anyone from a minority background. We're seeing Labour bend to reform, and I start agreeing with what they say.
Yeah.
We're seeing the Tories trying to move more to the right and try and outright reform. So it's a very it's a completely different landscape from when it was when, I suppose, even 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, it wasn't this bad.
I think that the GRR has a lot to play for this. Okay, so it was set out to make trans people's lives a little bit easier because they were a minority that was deeply persecuted. Okay, it was to make it easier for them to get a gender recognition certificate. However, that was weaponized by the right-wing media, by the unionist media, and it was something that went on for a very long time, that was constantly in the press, just like the blue tent outside Nicola's house. It was designed as a Scotland bad rhetoric in the media when it wasn't a Scotland bad thing. And I feel that, like I said right at the start, okay, that this has set back women's rights quite far as well, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, now our biological women, if they look slightly less feminine, if they have hormone disorders that make hair grow from their face, they might be asked to prove that they're not friggin' trans. You know, it's awful. I think that it stemmed from something and it's grown arms and legs where it shouldn't have done. It was awful, ridiculous. We're going to move on because I want to spend a little bit more time talking about the polling and everything like that. But I just want to quickly go around the room. We'll go back to Henry just now. Is there anything that you want to add to the conversation about the Supreme Court's ruling that's come out?
Well, basically, I haven't read it. I haven't had the time to read it. No doubt there will be a lot of trolls that will be in there looking at it. And they'll definitely weaponise it. I'll probably get them coming out of the woodwork on my pages.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. Dave, have you got anything you want to add before we move into the...
Yeah, to me, it's actually pushed back centuries of women's rights to identify women in that way. And I know social media is not the real world.
Yeah.
But I've yet to see a single woman online who actually agrees with what's happened.
I agree with you there. There's a lot on TikTok just now. I spent a good little while just scrolling through TikTok deliberately for this and liking and sharing cis-het women's opinions on this and how they feel that it set back their rights and how trans men will now probably be in their spaces, trans men that biologically at birth were women. Okay, but now they have to use women's safe space, unique spaces, and I think that's going to make a lot of people maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable. Kieran, is there anything you want to add to this conversation just now before we move on to the polling bit?
Not really. No, I think everything I was going to say has been covered. Surprisingly.
Fucking hell. Are you sure?
Yes.
I'm giving you the all right. Okay, cool. Right, I'm sure you have a lot to say about the polling coming up. Right, okay, go for it, Kieran. The next 10 minutes is yours. Okay, you go and speak about what you wanted to speak about, because I know we talked about it earlier on, and I think it's a good thing. So I may sort of stick my hand up and ask you a question just for clarity and things. So watch the screen. So if I stick my hand up,
Right.
okay. Go for it.
Are you wanting the polling or the other topic?
No, your bit, because we'll go into the polling afterwards. I'm freeing up this bit for you.
So, I suppose many things I have noticed within the independence movement is people, particularly in the SNP and the Greens, they tar Alapa as a right-wing party. They go, and it's mainly it's because of the trans debate. But if you go to their website and you look at their actual policies, you'll see that they're actually not even conservative at all. And if you look at their 5-point plan, you'll see that they're actually wanting to go beyond the SNP and beyond that. Because it's like, I think it's just 5 things. They want to double the EMA to £60 a week, or bring in universal access to every sports facility for young people.
That's brilliant.
Nothing about that is conservative, and I think what we need to remember is Alex Salmond was the leader of the SNP, the same party that's still centre-left. Kenny McCaskill was in the Scottish Government as the Justice Minister. Neil Hanvey was elected as an SNP councillor and an SNP MP. Ash Regan was elected twice as an SNP MSP and served in the Scottish Government.
Madness.
So you can't say that they are conservative when they have been in the SNP, they've done stuff for the SNP, and to be honest, they agree with almost every SNP policy.
That's weird. I find it fascinating what you're saying here just now about how there seems to be probably a minority within the SNP and a minority within Alapa that are like that. They're like, screw you guys, you know? And that's what people are seeing most of, because there's not much of what you're saying, that comparison. Maybe we should be making more content, more memes showing the relevance that SNP and Alapa have. I think that's a particularly good idea. For it all. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had to say something. Carry on.
No. Yeah, you're not wrong. It's the big majority, I would say 80-90% of members from both parties actually want independence and will work together. It's like if you go to an SNP branch, you'll have the group of people who don't like Alapa, and you'll have the group of people that will actually be saying, well, you know what, I'm actually going to give Alapa a chance, because they actually want independence, and they know that to get independence, you don't need political hegemony. Independence can be a multipolar political way.
And that's because if you think about it as well, right? Independence activists are not friggin' drones, are they? They're not clones of each other. We all have different values, we all have different ideas, but the one thing that unites us is that yes box. You know, and we can build a Scotland that we want to after we're independent, okay? But we need to work together to get there. And you can be carrying an Alapa flag, you could be carrying a green flag, an SNP flag. I will carry all your flags, and I will lock arms with you and walk the streets happily, because you want the same thing as I do. I'm interrupting you again. I'm sorry.
I suppose, and it's most of the arguments about policy can be things that are argued about after independence. Like the trans issue, the policies about trans, you don't need the UK Supreme Court hanging on that when it is a devolved matter, which can then be an independent Scottish courts matter to decide. I don't know why, because there is people, I suppose, in both parties that have been happy that the UK Supreme Court is weighing in on Scottish matters, which doesn't really make sense. Because you can't support independence and then support the UK Supreme Court stopping Scottish matters from happening.
No, you can't. It's a bit crazy. I want to just bring in the other guys here just now. You've been listening to what Kieran's been saying about how Alapa people also want independence. Henry, how do you feel about that, working with somebody else? I mean, I know where your politics lie, but talk to me about it in your own words, please.
Well, I think most people, especially on a political level, have different perceptions. We all have different perceptions. We see it from a different point of view. But the whole thing about what's going on is basically, I feel, that Westminster is more or less flexing its muscles. Flexing its muscles, especially when it comes to things that are devolved within Scotland.
It's to keep us in our place, really, isn't it? It's just to keep us in our place,
Precisely.
Totally agree.
You know? I'm just an ordinary Joe, basically. But I have a couple of pages. I've always supported independence, and that's the goal. It's nothing else. It's got nothing to do with personalities, nothing to do with egos. It's got to do with people like you and me, and the people in this room.
Absolutely.
Say that.
Dave?
Well, I'm still seeing people actually indulging in this, what you refer to as political hegemony. Of what it's only depends on one of the parties that counts, the rest can go to hell kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we need to move away from that. We really need to. And I would simply say to the people that are indulging in that kind of attitude, if you're not prepared to move away from that, then just move out the way. get
I've
out
got a
of the
song
way.
about that. I've got a song just about that. Okay, well, we're not playing. It's not. I've not got it set up, but yeah, but you can find it on the Saorsa CO music player.
I will be looking that up.
It's on the website saorsascott.com. Hold on a second. I will actually put the link up on the screen. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. And so if you want to go and find it, go to saorsascott.com up here. There you are. That's where you go. Let's go back to the guys now. Hold on a second. Brilliant. Sorry, I just had to go and put the link up so people could see it. No, you're absolutely right. Political hegemony, one party politics will never deliver independence. And now that he's had a little breather, back to Kieran. See what I'm doing here? I'm controlling the narrative and the conversation tonight. That's good.
I suppose to finish it off would be, I suppose 2025 next year. It's going to be the biggest test for the SNP. I would say since 2007, from when they first came into government. This is their chance to not just stay in government, but to bring in more independent MSPs from other areas. And it's people like to say Alapa split the vote, but Alapa aren't doing constituency races. I think it was just 4 hours ago, they announced that they weren't going to stand in Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse, which is Christina McKelvey's seat in the by-election. And if that doesn't prove that Alapa are not just going after the SNP for the sake of it, I don't know what will.
Well, they've said that they're not going to stand, did you say?
They're not going to stand, yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. So there's a massive proof in the pudding. I know that they said at their conference as well that they're not going to field any constituency seats as well. I think that there's a level of maturity that we have to look at the whole additional member system with respect to SNP1, any other INDY. The fact that you have the only other blatantly obvious party of independence. Greens say, yeah, independence, hi, that's great, but we will work with unionist parties quite happily. Independence is not the red line, as they've said before. This is why Alapa have kind of warmed to me a lot more. I've always voted SNP1 Green 2, but now much more warmed towards Alapa in that respect. And they've got that sense of maturity saying, we know how this works, the system. We are not going to contest the SNP in any constituencies because that is first past the post. That would split the independence vote 100%. It does not split the independence vote when it comes to the list. It cannot, because if the SNP win big, and I keep referring back to the Glasgow one because it's the figures that always stick in my head, about 113,000 votes, okay, or 130,000 votes, I can't remember exactly, okay, 10 divided by 10, 9 seats plus 1, and it took them down to like 13,000 votes to begin with. Now, if even half of those went to Alapa, they would have had 3 seats in the Glasgow region. That's 3 more independents bums on seats. And that polling data, and I'm going to use that next week, and I'm going to use it at least once a week until the next poll comes out and the next one comes out, until people realise that we can strategically vote for Alapa, who are not contesting constituency seats, who are not splitting the independents vote, that only want independence just as much as the rest of us. It gets through to people because it's very important. Sorry, Kieran. It's your show tonight, I forgot.
I suppose there just needs to be a big discussion between both parties of just the SNP to be saying, well, we need your constituency votes, Alapa, because there will be people who in 2021 only filled out their list ballot. There will be people this election coming that'll only fill out their list ballot because they don't believe that the SNP truly wants it. So there needs to be discussions where they're saying, we need your constituency votes, because if you go to every constituency, there's at least a couple hundred Alapa voters in each one. And that really could flip key seats wherever in northeast of Scotland, maybe even in the south. so that you can win even more constituency seats and then bring in Alp on the list. There needs to be because Alp are already saying we need your list votes, SNP. We need to be saying we need your constituency votes.
And Alapa should be also saying, let's vote for the SNP. I think that's coming. I'd like to see that's coming, because the kind of phrasing that Kenny McCaskill's using is we cannot go to war with them, the SNP. And I think that was a really important thing for him to say in his first major leadership speech. We cannot go to war with the SNP. They are our brothers. He didn't say they're our brothers and sisters. I'm just sticking that in because it makes it sound cooler, But at the end of the day, that's it. We are one movement. It's a national cause. It's not a political. Where's everybody gone? We've lost everybody. Oh, hold on. Where have they gone? The boys have gone off. Okay, hold on. I don't know what happened there. Barry, something technical's happened. Something went wrong. I don't know. Oh dear. That's just awful. Let me just check to see if they're coming back. There they are. They're back. Back. And what happened there? What did you do? Oh, hang on. We've lost Dave. Hold on. Dave. Dave is back. You're back. That was creepy. You just all went off the screen. I did not push a button, Barry. I didn't push a button at all. Just while we've got this little break in the chat here just now. Whew, that was weird. John was saying that there's also ISP as well. ISP Independence. Was it Independence Party for Scotland? IPS? What? I'm lost. Independent Scotland Party, for God's sake, Mo. Jeez, that's another party as well. If they are fielding candidates, okay, why not vote for them? It's a possibility that they could have breakthrough as well. You just have to look to see, when it comes closer to the time, look at the polls, see who's got the most chance of getting their independence bum on the seats. It's so important. Okay, right, listen, carry on, please, Kieran. If you've got anything else to say, we've got another 5 minutes before I need to go to bed. Oh, we've lost Henry again. We have lost Henry. Henry, come back to us. I will move me across to there. There we go. Dave.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Well, personally, I will be voting SNP1, obviously being a member.
Uh-huh.
But I'll also be my second vote. I will be given to Alpha.
That's good.
Because the Greens for me, I don't know the woman's name, but when she said that she would be quite happy to work with unionist parties, she shot herself in the foot with that one.
Yeah, definitely. Henry, welcome back. I don't know why you guys disappeared there. It's just like, I don't know. That was weird. It seems to be like a 30-minute to 25-minute to 30-minute before, because it happened when I was testing it with my phones as well. It just went off after about 30 minutes. Don't know why. How do you feel about voting? We talked about it briefly before, but with regards to the sort of like the national cause over political hegemony, what's your feelings about that?
Kenny McCaskill's given out the more or less the hand, and I believe that the SNP will come round and they'll work together. Well, I'm hoping so, because we want unity. So. We need unity. They need to show leadership. Give us unity, and we will be there right beside them.
This is the thing, right? To see the moment somebody stands up within a senior position within the SNP and says, look, we should be doing this, and says it publicly beyond like the National Executive Committee sort of basis type thing, that says, this is what I believe in, this is we should be going in this direction. There'll be a bunch of people within the SNP that will say, hang them out to dry. That's not what we want. It's about the SNP and the SNP only. Okay, but it's not. It's the SNP. We've proven over the since they came into power, they've proven quite happily, quite positively that they can govern. They're not perfect, but they've governed better for Scotland than any party of the Union ever has, including the ones in Westminster that are doing it for the whole of these islands. Right? They are a Scottish Parliament and they are doing pro-Scottish things. We need to back that up with a pro-Scottish opposition and make Holyrood a unified pro-Scottish Parliament and drown out the voices of those pantomime characters. Oh, it does my head in. And that's the goal. We get that, the world then looks at us and says, holy crap, look at them. They've got an independence Parliament. Anything you want to add to that, Kieran?
I feel like, unlike in 2024, where it was vote for our party, it needs to be more of vote for Scotland. Vote for Scotland. It is as simple as that, because it was the SNP did have SNP for Scotland on their ballots, and it should really be in this election. It should be SNP for independence, ALAPA for independence, ISP for independence, every other party that is pro-independence for independence, and there needs to be some sort of conference or something where they're all together and they all just say a vote for any of us is a vote for independence.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, SNP and the Greens have turned around and says, nah, we're not going to go to ALAPA's convention. I think that sends the wrong message. I think that anybody that's watching this who is a member of the SNP should be bringing that up at their branch and say, look, why aren't we doing this? Are we not what was the original, why was the SNP created in the first place? It was created to go for independence. You've proven that you can govern. Now it's time to prove that you are going to, without any form of regret, go for independence. If anybody watched the TNT show with Paul Kavanagh the other day there, okay, he said something that I said back about not so much civil disobedience, but what was it? It was to do with causing a ruckus for the political side of things. Like, one of them, I think, should be to turn around and accept that Palestine is a state. What did I call it again? I can't remember what it was called. It was basically going to be causing political problems with the SNP down in London and the SNP in Scotland as well, causing problems for the union. And why we should be doing that next year after the election, we should be causing as much disruption politically as we possibly can from Holyrood and down in London as well, as much as we can, just to annoy them, because the more that they suppress us, the more people will come to our side for it all. They're going to turn around and say, no, you can't recognise Palestine as a state. Why not? Why can't we do that? Okay, right. Why can't we set up, Paul Kavanagh on the TNT show said as well that why can't we just set up our own broadcaster? We can do that. What are you going to do to stop us? What are they going to do? Are they going to send in soldiers to say you can't have your own Scottish broadcasting company? Are they really going to do that? Go through the court, send in the bailiffs, just get 1,000 of us indie supporters to surround the studio and say, all right, on you come. We're not going to fight you, but you have to get through us and hurt us before we do anything. It's mental. It's not even civic or civil disobedience. I can't remember what I called it. Constitutional crisis. That's what it was. Constitutional crisis. It means that nobody gets hurt and we use the system to make them look stupid. And I think that's a good idea. And it's something that the SNP need to get a backbone about. And I'm sure that Kenny McCaskill would love to do that, as a whole as well, which is good. Okay, so we're now at 12:10. I am working at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Okay, so I'm going to go quickly around the room, then I'm going to wrap up the show tonight. We will finish with Kieran tonight because he's probably got a lot to say and he'll probably keep me awake. I hope you don't mind me taking the piss. Have you managed to say everything you wanted to say?
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's good. I swear to God, he was typing for about 15-20 minutes before we came on, and all I heard was all the time. It was great. Dave, have you got anything you want to finish up with tonight?
Yes, I have. It's going back to this attitude with the SNP.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously I'm a member of the SNP like you are, Mo.
Yeah.
But I think on this they are completely wrong
Yeah.
about this SNP1 and 2 thing. They are completely wrong, and I think as we as members should be telling them that.
Absolutely. And it's important that we do. So if you ever have a branch meeting or something, or you could even write to your convener, your political education officer, whoever it is in your branch, and say, hey, listen, this is what I believe in, and see what they say when they come back. See what they say. See if they're going along the lines of, yeah, do you know what, we agree with you. And if that's the case, you can raise a motion within the committees and say, listen, you need to take this to the higher uppers. Kieran will probably know more about how to do that than I will, but we'll come to you just in a minute. Okay. Anything you want to add before we disappear?
I think it's time we started putting our differences behind us. The past is the past. It was a different time then. It's changed. We've moved on from that. And it's time we started shaking hands, regardless of the differences. And it's only one goal, independence.
That's right. Very good. I agree with you 110%. On you go, Kieran. How do we go about, as an SNP member, how can we put that question to our branches and send it upwards?
Well, it would be to email your convener, your organiser, whoever in your branch, and you are able to write a resolution that they can then send to whether it's National Council or annual conference or whatever, and then that will get through. And if it gets through and it goes into the final agenda, fantastic, because it will probably pass.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's good if you keep chipping away at it, keep speaking to your branch conveners, keep going to your branch meetings and keep bringing this up. And if you're actually able to get on your branch executive and argue from in there as well.
That would be really easy for me. I could get onto my branch exec like that. Just not
It would
many
be
of them.
very...
I could do that. We had that chat.
Can I ask a question here, Kieran?
Yes.
I mean, I haven't heard from my local branch since May last year.
Ooh.
Anything at all. How do we go about finding what the hell's going on?
Can I say that this is probably a good question to answer on Discord, where you've got a little bit more time to talk about that, okay? I just want to say, Henry, thank you very much for coming on tonight. This is the first time you've been on with us. You're always welcome to come on. We will get all the technical things and everything ironed out, so you're fluid at getting everything done. Kieran, it's always a pleasure. You are the future of our country. You really, really are. And, well, Dave and Henry and I will just sort of retire and go gardening and stuff like that.
Because we're the old farts of the group.
Feeding the pigeons.
Feeding the pigeons, that'll do.
I couldn't imagine you retiring. It would be impossible to imagine you retiring.
Which one? These guys? Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm never going to retire. Never, ever. Listen, gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm going to switch your cameras off here. I'll see you all in Discord in about 5 minutes, and I'm going to wrap up the show. Thank you very much for the conversation tonight, and I will see you very soon.
Okay.
Those guys are awesome. I'm very lucky to rub shoulders with such knowledgeable people, such positive people about independence, and you guys as well in the chat. There was a wee question just there by Hashbury Stumble, saying that you brought up about how a constitutional crisis could be brought about. It could be brought about, and it depends on the actual constitutional crisis. It has to be done politically, in my opinion. We as civilians couldn't really go about doing that. We can do civil or civic disruption. That's something, but that's going to get people arrested, and that it might come down to that eventually. But as for constitutional crisis, that has to come from the political leaders, and I think that it's the easiest things in the world to do is to stand up and publicly state things that Westminster have to respond to. They have no choice, because if they don't respond to them, they look stupid, and if they dismiss them, we keep talking about it, saying, oh, you've not said anything. So therefore, Scotland does recognise Palestine as an independent state. Why can't we do that? There's nothing stopping us doing that. It doesn't overstep the mark. Of course, it is not in the Scotland Act 1998 that we have the powers to do international things like that. But we can still say them. We can still believe them. We can even do a survey out there and say, do you believe that Palestine should be an independent state? And if more people come back, the Scottish people believe this, and we think it's a good thing. Setting up our own broadcasting company. I mean, there's plenty of YouTube channels out there, but why not just go down and start a cable television channel? You know, we need licenses and stuff. There's people that are talking about it just now. Okay, and there's people that are wanting to go ahead and do that, but why can't we just go and do it? What are they going to do to stop us from actually broadcasting? They take away the licenses of like Virgin? Nah, I don't know. Maybe we could just do a pirate TV station. That would be fun. I would very much like to do a pirate TV station. That would be ridiculous. Anyway, I'm working at 6 a.m, so I need to get off to bed. I'm going to pop on to Discord for 5 minutes just to say thank you to everybody from there that comes on. And let me just say it's been a pleasure tonight. Next week's content is more of the same. We're going to look a little bit about these polls and how we can actually be campaigning for the SNP and the constituencies, and we'll take that conversation forward as well. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye, and I will see you next week.
We walk through the echoes of battles long past, footsteps still ringing, the die has been cast. The voices of giants still call out our name, their words in the silence still whisper the same. Oh, we carry the flame, we carry it high, a light in the dark, a hope in the sky. Not one hand alone, not one heart apart. If we stand together, we make a new start. The road isn't easy, the weight isn't small. Too long we've been waiting, too often we fall. But the truth doesn't waver, the stars do not lie. This land is our own, we don't